to know Trinity for almost 2 years now, and she's been an active part of the youth group. She's led them, she's offered advice, she's opened up so much with such a crazy, different group of kids. But it's an honor to hear her and to listen to her speak, because she speaks from her heart all the time. And she's absolutely super excited about this. And we've been talking about something that she's going to share with you guys for a long time, and just what she's going to share is so insightful, and I really hope that it touches your hearts as much as it does mine. So, Trinity.
Hello, everyone. I wanted to use this microphone so I wouldn't face around, so this is like holding me here. So good morning. Like Shayna said, I'm Trinity. I'm usually back there where Zach is, so we kind of switched places today. So yeah, I want to start off by sharing some scripture, which I'm sure a lot of you know. It's kind of like a popular life verse, and I actually had to text Zach to make sure we hadn't talked about it in the past few weeks because it just comes up so much. I actually had a bracelet with it on it for like years and years. And it's Jeremiah 29:11. I'm actually going to do 11 through 13. So it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all of your heart." So I think it's really important. Shayna taught us to be aware when we are reading scripture, to read it in context, to not just take one verse, even though that one verse might be what's plastered everywhere, to look at the bigger picture, to realize that God says, not that he just has a plan for you, but when you call on me and come and pray to me, I will listen to you. And when you seek me with all of your heart. So with that in mind, I want to tell you guys about the last year or so of my life. So this past year, most of my time and energy was spent focusing on researching, applying to, and getting into college. I think anyone who interacted with me from May to December 2018 knows that that was always on my mind. It was like my number one thing. It's all I cared about. It was one of the most demanding and anxious and intimidating times of my high school career, and I took 2 classes with Miss Asbridge, so it was pretty intense. So part of this whole process was being able to visit these schools, and I had an amazing opportunity where I applied. I'm sorry, guys. Talking about Miss Asbridge was the most stressful part of this whole thing for me. I was able to apply to these programs, and they flew me up, and I got to spend some time at the college, stay there for a few days, visit classes, meet faculty, and it was a really amazing experience for me. And the first of all these visits that I applied to was to Williams College up in Massachusetts, which I had never heard of before in my whole entire life. But I flew up there. It was my first college visit ever. It was my first time really on a campus at all. And I just fell in love. It was like teeny tiny and super rural, and as soon as I stepped on campus, it felt like home. And I just fell in love with it. But I had a few more visits to go, so I didn't want to get too ahead of myself. And there was one school that I had in mind this whole time that I was researching, this whole process, was Swarthmore College, which was in Pennsylvania, and just kind of like super old and looks like a castle and very like Hogwarts vibes. So it was my number one choice, and it was one of the last visits I did. So in between all this, I was trying to think, like, I love Williams, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. I visited a few other schools that were super nice, but they just didn't feel right. So I finally visited Swarthmore. And the day I visited Swarthmore was the last day I had to rank my schools. So the way I applied to college, it's kind of like a long, tedious, and ridiculous program. But I had to rank the schools I was applying to, and then when all the decisions came in, if I was accepted to a school, I would go to the school I had ranked highest that accepted me. So basically I had to decide my list of favorite schools before I even knew if I got in. And then they didn't even tell me where I was accepted to, they just told me where I was going. They were like, congratulations, you're going here. So it was a little stressful to go through this process. And the first day I visited Swarthmore, it was amazing. It was wonderful and everything I had dreamed. And the rankings were due that night, so without a second thought, I submitted Swarthmore as my number 1 and Williams as my number 2, and that was that. Except the next day was my first full day, and I talked to some faculty, and I visited some classes and spent some time at the school, and I realized it just wasn't the place for me. It wasn't where I wanted to go. And I was so heartbroken that because if I got in, I would have to go there, and I wouldn't have a choice, and I was just so stressed. And I called my mom. I was sitting in the middle of campus, just sobbing on the phone with her, so upset that I had made the wrong decision. I had already, it was done, and I had messed up. So my mom reminded me that she reminded me that I had done what I thought was best, and that it wasn't my decision anymore. It was in the hands of all those admissions counselors, and more than anything, it was in the hands of God. So, so sometimes when we leave church, I ask Dad, I'm like, hey, we should go to breakfast, like now. And he's like, it's up to your mother. So the first thing you do is, Mom. So the first thing I did, Mom said it's in God's hands. And I said, well, I should probably talk to God then and just get the story straight. So every day I would pray, and I would pray, please God, don't make me go to Swarthmore. Please God, let me go to Williams College. Even if I didn't get any scholarship, even if it was, I barely got in, just let me go to Williams. And I did that for a while before I realized that I was praying, and I was talking to God, but I wasn't really giving anything to God. I wasn't surrendering it to God. Every day I was telling God what I wanted. I said, God, this is my plan. Please make it work. I know you can. So please make it work for me. But that isn't really how it works. So Proverbs chapter 16, verse 1 through 3 says, to humans belong the plans of the heart, but from the Lord comes the proper answer of the tongue. All a person's ways seem pure to them, but motives are weighed by the Lord. Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. And then Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 through 6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. So I had my plan, and I had my path, but I wasn't giving that to the Lord. I wasn't trusting him. So instead of asking God to fulfill my plans, I started asking God to help me fulfill his. I realized that even though I preferred the environment or the classes of one school, it didn't really matter where I was when it came to where I could serve God. And I can do that anywhere. I could do that at Swarthmore or Williams or UGA or Alabama. It doesn't matter where I go, I can serve the Lord. And once I realized that, all the anxiety of the past year just faded away. And for so long, I had been told to trust God, and I thought that meant that if I prayed and if I just listened to him, he would send me where I wanted to go. But suddenly I had this faith, not that God would send me to Williams, but that God had a plan for me, and that no matter what happened when decisions came out, I had this faith that I would be okay, and I knew that God had a plan. And all I had to do was trust in him and commit to him, and he would make my path straight. So in the end, as many of you know, I did get into Williams, despite all the mistakes I made along the way. And that's kind of what I want to wrap things up with, is that every day, my future at Williams reminds me that what God has in store for me far outweighs any of my plans. And that we can do whatever we think is fit. We can make all these decisions and all these plans and all these mistakes. But as long as you come back to the Lord, you're not going to change his plan. He's going to change you for his plan. And Shayna likes to tell us that our plan isn't, she likes to call it a working document. We can go kind of like when one door closes, another one opens. We can go down all these different paths, but if we turn to the Lord, he will always have a path for us no matter where we are, no matter what mistake we made. And so yeah, that's just what I wanted to share with you today.
Blessed assurance number 369. 369. Let's stand, please. If you're able. 369.
Dear Lord, thank you for being with us today in this place. Thank you for giving us graduates the opportunity to learn and love in this church and to grow up here. God, I pray that as we leave, you would show us that our plan is not the same as yours, and that your plan will always overcome. God, helps us remember that even when things don't go our way, and even when we make mistakes, that you have a path for us. God, help us to commit to you, to trust you, to seek you with our whole heart, and help us to know and help us to find peace in the fact that you will be there for us, no matter where we go. All God's people said, amen.